Hi, guys. Welcome to the Love of God podcast. I'm your host, Dorinda, and this is the part two of the Prodigal Daughter episode. And this is going to be very interesting because um, it gets really dark from here. Okay, so trigger warning if you have not dealt with, should I say, a lot of trauma. This is not where you're meant to be. But like I said, I really want to share my story. I really want to let people know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm sorry I had to end the podcast so early last time. I had no idea I only had 30 minutes to record inside the app. So I think next time I will be recording outside of the app and then I will be downloading my audio into the app. I just thought it would be cleaner or better. And on the phone, when I record this on my phone, it gives me at least an hour. So I'm not sure why it did that, but here we are. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. And we're going to carry on where we left off. If you're new here, please make sure you watch or listen to, the first episode to just understand what's going on. It's going to be very hard to give you guys a rundown, but go watch the first episode. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to love it. So at this time, I believe I was 21. This was when I started doing certain things that I wasn't supposed to be doing and my mother would not be proud of. But just bear in mind, I was in my very early 20s, no parental guidance whatsoever. My older brother was living outside of London and we didn't have the closest relationship anyway. And my mom had left, so I was really on my mayhem era. We had the rebel era, now we're in the mayhem era. So I started smoking weed. I started smoking. A lot of people in my life didn't know I smoked. It was something that I really kept to myself heavily. I wasn't ready to share that with anyone. I was not proud of it, bear that in mind. But I didn't really start getting heavy into smoking. I actually used to hide it from my boyfriend at the time because I knew he was going to judge me and all of that stuff. Typical African man. Although he smoked himself, he was more of a cigarette smoker than a weed smoker. But because I was partying a lot, it's not hard for you to get someone to you try it one time and then before you know it, you got yourself a shotter picking up and everything. So that's how it all started. And my ex and I, we ended up breaking up. But when we broke up, I found out that I was pregnant. And this was so shocking to me because I was like, bro, I just managed to get the courage to leave this guy. And now I have to run back to him and tell him this information. Strangely enough, he didn't believe that I was pregnant. And bear in mind, I had nowhere to go. I was living with him at the time, or should I say, I was living with him at the time. And then when I left him, I was staying with a friend of mine. So I was basically homeless, but not really homeless because I had my friend's house and she had family and I was never really alone. But that day, when I realized he didn't want to see me, or he didn't even believe I was pregnant in the first place, that's what he said anyway. I said, you know what, fine. I can't have a baby. I can't have a baby, especially not by myself. And ever since I was young, my mom was always beating into my head that don't have a baby out of wedlock. Don't have a baby out of wedlock. This is going to play a very crucial role, okay? Just so put a pin in this one. So I said, you know what, I'm going to have to remove it. And it's just, I got to do what I got to do, So I woke up one morning. I remember this day very well because ironically that day was Children's Day at my friend's church. And I just felt like, I don't want this baby. I can't have this baby. I genuinely couldn't do it at the time. And it was one of the worst experiences of my life. I ended up being hospitalized because the pregnancy was way further along than they thought, and they gave me a pill instead of actually doing a proper like removal. And bro, that it was so scary. Like, I scared everyone in somebody else's house because they had to call an ambulance for me, and it was very traumatic. I had to have an operation, and that happened. And my ex still didn't show up for me, by the way. And my dumbass still went back. So just put that in mind. And I remember one of my friends' friend telling me, like, after you've done this, you can't tell him that you can't get back with him. And I was like, yeah, I'm not getting back with him. I'm not getting back. I got back with him. I was so stuck in that relationship. It was disgusting. It was so disgusting. I couldn't believe it. And I couldn't even tell him the truth either. I could not tell him the truth that what I did. I just said, oh, I lost it. And we just moved on and act like nothing happened. But the feelings of what I did always kept creeping back, beating me up, reminding me every day, you're still here. And I used to let it out on him. I used to resent him. I used to be so angry. I was always trying to fight him. Do you know what I mean? I was always trying to look for something to just hold over his head or something. I don't know what I was doing. I was mentally unstable. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I was not okay. So after I finally had the courage to end the relationship for good, like generally for good, I think I tried to leave like 4 times. And the maddest thing is, I kept, like, anytime he upsets me, I literally move out the next day. I rent out a new flat and I'll leave. And then a month later, 6 or 2 months later, I'll come back, piss me off again, I'll leave again. Like, I'm the type of person, yeah, I'm going to let you know that I'm not going to stay for the BS. I'm not going to stick around for the madness. I'm not involved. I want no part of it. Every time you mess up, I will leave. But I will give you another chance. That's the sad part about me. I tend to always do that. I tend to always give people chances, even though I have shown them that I will leave. Like, I don't know what lesson I'm trying to prove there, but it's not effective, because every time you come back, you're showing them that you leaving doesn't mean anything. So bear that in mind. So after that relationship ended, I believe I was 23. As usual, got a new boyfriend. Didn't take time. Probably like 6 months after that relationship. Well, not even 6 months. I'll even say 4 months. Oh, God, help us. After that, got into that relationship, and that was surprisingly a very calm relationship. He wasn't cheating. He wasn't verbally, physically abusive or anything like that. It was just a regular guy, although not the type that I would normally go for. But I truly fell for him. Like, genuinely, I thought I did anyway. But that didn't work out. I think we were only together for a year plus. That time was such a blur. I don't remember a lot that happened. It was such a blur. But I started smoking very heavily, and he was a smoker too, this new boyfriend of mine, and it was just easy. It was simple. Let's just sing together. Let's just have fun together. It's just what it is. But a part of me was also trying to take it seriously. I was trying to make it what it was not. I was trying to meet his parents. I was trying to get him to speak to my mom, and let him, like, he wasn't on that. Like, deep down, I think that was what was like rattling me, because I was like, you're not really claiming me. Like, we're always in this house, we're never doing anything. I always had at the back of my mind, like, this guy, I feel like one of your guys, But that happened. So when that relationship ended, I think it was just literally a year, I turned 24. So we broke up just before like April. Yeah, just around April, before my birthday, and I turned 24. And I started remembering a lot of things in my childhood because I just felt like, oh my God, another failed relationship. I was so devastated. I was more devastated about the fact that I had another failed relationship than actually losing him, which was crazy. But that was more sad to me, that I lost that friendship, I lost that relationship, and there was nothing I could do about it. I tried to get him to get back with me, and he refused. Like, he was like, you are crazy. And I was not okay, guys. Like, I had a lot of things chasing me. I had not healed from my past and had not healed from my past relationships. Like, it was really hard to accept that things actually hurt me. I felt like I was one of those people that was constantly on survival mode, and I feel like as long as I'm with other people, as long as I'm trying to move on, I'm trying to be happy, happiness is going to come. But I never really allowed myself to sit down and mourn a situation and figure out, where did I go wrong? You know, I never sat down and thought, what part did you play? I was always blaming everybody else, and that was where the issue was. So now this childhood thing caught up on me faster than I could imagine, because I remembered, okay, so this is around the time that the whole R. Kelly thing was going on and what he was doing to girls. And I remember I sat and I was watching, I was like, wait a minute, I think this happened to me. I think this is something that's happened to me. But I always put it at the back of my mind and always thought to myself, oh, I was just a bad kid, because the things that was done to me was when I was a kid, and they were telling me that I was just a bad kid. Like, this is what bad kids do. It's okay. It's normal. So it dawned on me that I was being groomed, and it's crazy. It dawned on me that I was being groomed and I was being molested at the same time, and being told that it's normal. And I remember growing up thinking it's normal, although I loved God so much, I still couldn't. I think that's why I was able to still have a relationship with God even after I grew up, because they kept normalizing it to me that what I was doing with them was okay. And I say them because it was multiple. The story is hard to tell. It's crazy because this is actually going to be out. Oh my God, I'm scared. Lord, you said I should do this? This is what you want? All right, let's move on. So after learning this information, I started thinking, like, am I cursed? You know, like, I started searching for my purpose. I was like, God, what's wrong with me? Like, what's the issue with me? Bear in mind, I haven't been to church in such a long time. And I remember my mom always asking me, have you gone to every Sunday? I don't think that woman has ever failed to ask me if I've gone to church. And I remember my mom never used to be that lady that would ask me to go to church. She just always knew I would go. And she just always knew she installed the way of God in me. So she shouldn't have to tell me these things. I always used to stay away from. I think I used to blame it on the fact that, you know, the church traumatized me or the church hurt me. But although they did to a certain extent, I wouldn't call it trauma. I would just call it like, I gave up. I feel like I just gave up. I lost my faith, yo. I just lost my faith. I couldn't hear God anymore. Couldn't feel his presence. I couldn't tell what was real and what was fake anymore, because of all these memories that started coming back to me. Because I remember when I realized that I was molested as a child. I think I cried for like a week straight, smoked all my lungs away. Even though I had just come out of a breakup, I was quick to jump in bed with someone else because I just felt so crap about myself. And I feel like that is what contributed to me not going to church and losing my way, because I was like, wow, it's too much. All of these things were already installed in me. It just took certain things to activate. And once they were activated, I wasn't trying to go back. I hope this is making sense. It's like I said, I was exposed to things when I was young, although it did not break me because I was told it was normal. But when I started feeling certain pain and betrayal and anger and shame, a lot of shame, I couldn't go back to church. I couldn't even have God face. I couldn't face God. I couldn't face him. And I think a good 80% was shame, and the rest was just disappointment and anger. So to just give you a time frame, like I said, I was 24 around this time, and if you think that was bad, it's gonna get worse. So this is the part where I started falling into star signs and how my life started falling apart for real. Before, I was just having small boyfriend problems, and that's it. In my head, I was in the world, so I wasn't having problems. I don't feel like the devil was interested in me like that. But because I started diving into like star signs, astrology, and all of these things that weren't me, I started to realize, like, yeah, this is bringing me down. This is dragging me all the way down to the floor, like on my knees. I'm begging. So as soon as I started getting into star sign, I started embracing the uniqueness of being a Taurus, quote unquote. And I started normalizing my bad behavior. I was always hot-tempered. I was always angry, and I enjoyed being angry. I remember I used to say to people, I like being angry. Don't get me angry because I enjoy it. It makes me happy. And if I get angry with you, you're going to hate me. This. I couldn't believe I used to be so proud to talk like that. Like now I would avoid getting angry with all my heart and soul. Because I'm like, it's going to take me a long time to get back. And I don't want to be that girl anymore. I really don't. And I started walking in that path of star signs and astrology and meditation, crystals. I remember I was very into crystals. I went to a library and I bought a crystal book and trying to figure out what certain crystals were for and how they help your energy and all that jazz. So I was very much into that. And then suddenly, and I say suddenly because it was such a shock to me, suddenly I lost my job of 4 years. Bear in mind, before all this happened, like, money was coming in. I had a job. I would even after all the smoking and drinking and partying, I would still go to work. I was very, very diligent with work. I had no reason to be fired. They had no reason. It was such a misunderstanding, and I got fired again. I got fired. So I was like, okay, cool. I said, okay, you know what? And this was a really good paying job. I believe I was getting like £14 an hour. And for someone in my early 20s, that was really good. Now, £14 an hour is good, but it's not good enough, in my opinion. I feel like with the skills I have, my aim right now is to have at least £20 an hour on the job that I'm doing. But 14 an hour was really, really good at the time. And I lost that job. So it took me a long time to find another job. And the kind of job that I had at the time, because I was a support worker, you don't just start at £14 an hour. You start at a certain level and then you climb your way up. And I couldn't see myself doing that again with another company. And I said, you know what? I tried. I got another job. It was self-employed. But it just wasn't sustaining my bills. I was renting arrears. My landlord started sending me letters and letters of trying to get me evicted. I wasn't paying up. Bear in mind, I was only like £300 in arrears. My rent was £500. I was paying what I could, and especially because I was traveling far for work as well. And I was also smoking and trying to numb the pain. So I found myself so deep into star signs that because I needed some extra money, I started a business. I started a little side business as nails. Nails started as a side business for me. If you know me, you know that I do nails for a living. That's my profession. If I go back to work today, that's what I will be doing. I'm deep in the industry long enough to know that, to get a good hourly pay. So I started the nails as a side business, and I called my nails, my business, Tori Beauty. So everybody knew me as Tori. Sometimes they would call me Tori, and obviously Tori is related to the Taurus star sign. And that was another thing that just came to me randomly. I just thought to myself, how can I, what should I name my business? I don't want to call it by my name because everyone is doing that. Everyone is slayed by this, slayed by that. But I wanted something different. So I called my business Tori Beauty. And girl, in the beginning, the business was doing fine. It started off all sweet, I was making some extra money. I was making enough money. I didn't even make enough money to move into a shop. My boyfriend at the time helped me move into a shop, even though I was on the edge of being evicted. That money that I could have used and paid my rent and just sit my bum at home, find a good job and start getting my life together, I went to invest it in my business. It was such bad decision making. I started to become prideful. And the Bible says pride comes before destruction. So, this is a serious story. But so I started to invest in my business. I would buy things from Alibaba, try to make my business the best out of everybody. People used to come to me and patronize me and stuff like that. But truly, I wasn't making enough. And it just wasn't worth it, So I started saying to myself, I need to do something else. Before I could even think of it, my landlord came to my house, stripped my whole entire bed, everything, took out everything from my room, the cupboards, the bed, the mattress, took everything, the tables, and I was shattered. And it's funny because that day I went to a college to find out how I can start doing nails professionally, and I came home to my room being taken apart basically, and he was like, you can sleep in the spare room. Luckily there was a bed in the spare room, unless I would have literally been sleeping on the floor that day. You can sleep in the spare room until you've paid up your rent or something like that. I was like, okay, cool. The spare room was the size of a bathroom, so small, one little single bed and no space. said, okay, cool. Finally, I think after like a year of going back and forth with my landlord, trying to pay him back, and then some point I just gave up. And I said, guy, I can't do enough. I literally can't get a job. I was out of my mind. I was losing my mind, guys. I couldn't work anymore. I wasn't making money, all this stuff. Yeah, when I think about it, I'm just like, how did you survive? Oh, so I ended up being evicted. We literally have 5 minutes to go, guys. So we're going to resume this story. This is gonna be a whole season. But there's gonna be at least 2 more parts to come. So I decided to, I got evicted. They had all my things outside. A lot of my things were stolen, especially my nail equipment, my nail crystals. A lot of things that I invested my money on, I lost them because I had to leave them there, go to the council, talk to the council, try to figure out how they could help me. What should I do? Where am I going to sleep, honey? Where was I going to sleep? No one was going to help me. Nobody. I was couch surfing for a while. I think I was homeless. I actually counted. I was homeless for about 11 weeks until I was able to save enough money to get a new flat. And even that house, I got in because I didn't have to pay a deposit. The guy was very nice Nigerian man. He just said, you know what, just move in, it's fine. I gave him the first rent of £500, and I was working for my uncle at the time. And it was okay to work in his salon at the time because I needed the money. That's number one. And number two, I was learning a lot. It was a very good experience. Although the experience was tough, like it put me in one of the most toughest environment. Like if you've worked in a nail salon in Woolwich, or if you've ever done your nails in a nail salon in Woolwich, you know it's tough. Okay, it's a tough environment to work in, but I learned so much. I made really good friends. It allowed me to be able to work in any environment, even if it's chilled or high pace, I can do it. And I recommend that for any nail tech. I know a lot of people, sometimes you guys think you're making a lot more money at home, but if you just dedicate 6 months of just working for a high pace nail salon, you will get a lot of skills that you wouldn't even know. So that's where we're going to end today's podcast. I've been talking for the past hour. It is currently 4 a.m. and I think I need to sleep on all this information that I have spewed out. And we'll be back tomorrow to finish this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you've come this far, I appreciate you. You're welcome in this place, and I pray that God blesses you for just being here with me. And take care and be blessed.